I'm doing this Skidmark today on the 11th of August 2025 after I've received a lot of requests from people that I do it in English. I published a similar Skidmark, a Briekmerke, a while back, but it was done in Afrikaans and I got a lot of requests that I must do something in English. Now, this Skidmark, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with aggressive bladder cancer. Bladder cancer that went through the bladder wall and into the fat surrounding the bladder. Fortunately, there was no spreading, so it wasn't classified as stage 4, but it was very aggressive. And I'm going to tell you the story. It was on the 28th of March that this image met me in my toilet. Now, to any man looking at that will know something serious is wrong. That was on a Friday, so I informed my wife, and she made an appointment with me with my GP. And on the Monday I saw the GP, showed him the image, and he ordered blood work and urine tests. I received that back on the 31st, that's 3 days later. All the tests came back, and I was at the GP and we discussed the results, and he informed me that I have to get to a urologist, and he gave me a letter of introduction to a urologist. Now, I have questions about that. I'm sitting there, I'm pale, and you could see something was seriously wrong. I was losing between 100 and 150 milliliters of blood to my estimation. And now, you must understand, it's been going on for a while, for about a month, before I shared it with my wife. And I was stupid, but okay. Fact is, he gave me the letter, and my wife tried to get an appointment with the urologist, and they informed her that he could see me in 18 days. She said to me, right, that's the story, I can see you in 18 days. And I said to her, sorry, that kite's not going to fly, I'm not going to make it in 18 days. And I shared the image with a cyber friend, which is a doctor in Pretoria. And he took one look at that image, and he said to me, you need to get to a urologist extremely urgently. I'm going to call you back now. And about half an hour later, he called me back and he said, the receptionist of the urologist is waiting for your call. That was 4:30 in the afternoon. He said, they're waiting for your call. I explained the situation to her. She's waiting. So I called the receptionist, and she told me that the urologist could see me. That was the Wednesday afternoon. Could see me the Friday morning at 6:30, 0630 Central African time. That's very early. I'm in Nelspruit there in Pretoria. So the next day my youngest son took me up, and we slept in a guest house. I said to him it was too early for me to travel on that same day. So we slept in Pretoria, and the next morning he dropped me at the surgery. I had the consultation with the guy, and he went through all the things, and he did a sonar, and he said to me, look at that, it's a huge growth in your bladder. It must come out. I want you to go up to the 3rd floor, and they will admit you and prepare you for surgery. Okay, so I went through the paces, and then I got back. As I finished with the consultation and I was ready to go, the urologist looked at me and he said to me, I can't believe you're on your feet. In any case, so I went to theatre, and he did, I think they call it a cystoscopy or something like that. I woke up with the catheter, and I feel very uncomfortable. A little bit later, the doctor came to see me, and he explained to me that he has removed a huge mass out of my bladder, but he stopped when he realized the thing has perforated the bladder. had gone through the bladder, and he didn't want to go too further because he was scared that he will go through the bladder wall, and that could be a major problem. I must go for a CT scan. They took me to the CT scan and did that, and he said to me, I'll call you. He kept me in the hospital for 4 days, and he said, the day that he discharged me, he said, I'll call you when I've got all the tests back. So the next Friday, I went for the appointment. All the tests were back, and he informed me that it was an aggressive bladder cancer, and explained that it's gone through the bladder and into the fat, and he then, this is the report. It's unfortunately in Afrikaans. I'm going to try and translate as good as possible in English. His diagnosis was, it's a transverse cell carcinoma, high grade of the bladder with infiltration into the perivesical fat. And his clinical diagnosis was that bladder carcinoma, high grade, with infiltration into the perivesical fat, and the complications. And then you see at that secondary dot, the CT for the bowel, showed a big tumor in the trigonum of the bladder. The tumor has gone through the bladder wall into the perivesical fat. Tumor dimensions 44 by 25 by 30 millimeters, and then he's got the results there. And his conclusion was a radical cystoprostectomy with a Briekmerke ileostomy. Now, for the medical people, you will understand what it means. In simple terms, it basically means going to take my bladder out, going to take my prostate out, and put a hole through my side and a urine bag, and that will be my future. My penis will be used for nothing, just hanging out. I don't know why there's someone that don't just cut the bloody thing off at the same time, because what is it there for? Decoration or what? Or a reminder or what? But in any case, I divert. Let me get back to the facts. If you look at this image, this was the CT scan result. And you can see there on the image, he shows the arrows showed where the cancer has spread to. And you can see, if you look at the top of the cancer in the bladder, you can see that he has scooped out as much as he would want to. If you look carefully, you'll see there's a little gray edge just below that tumor inside the bladder. And it seems like the tumor, as it went out of the bladder, was pushing the bladder wall in. And that is why he stopped in theater, because he was scared of going through the bladder wall. Today, it's easy for someone to look at it and say, yeah, he didn't scrape enough. But that's a story. So that was the information I had on that Friday. And it was not good. And he said to me, while I was sitting there, he made an appointment with the oncologist for the Monday. I must start with chemo. And I asked him, will the chemo take care of the cancer? And he said, no, but we hope that it will shrink the cancer so that the operation will be easier. And he said, it's 3 months, so I must go on the chemo. And then I said to him, if I do nothing, what's going to happen to me? He said to me, well, within about 10 to 12 months, you're going to lose full control over you're going to lose complete control over your bladder and your rectum. You'll be in diapers. You will be in a pain, excruciating pain for which there's not really medication. And that should last about 6 weeks and it will be over. And I said, okay, so this is a death sentence. He didn't answer me. I walked out of his surgery. My oldest son took me for the consultation that day. I walked out. Now, I say I walked out, but mentally I actually stumbled out there, because it was a hell of a shock. So, but another friend of mine has insisted that I see a wellness practitioner before I do anything. and the appointment was made for that afternoon. So I left the urologist and I went to the wellness guy. And the wellness guy started, I didn't tell him anything. He just started scanning me with his machine and things like that. Went through the brain and the heart, liver, pancreas, and kidneys, and then he arrived in the bladder. And when he got to the bladder, I could see on his face that he is seeing shit that he is paying serious attention to, and I stopped him. I then gave him the background of what was going on. And his words I will never forget. That was the first positive words that I heard. He said to me, "Yeah, I can see there's a problem, but we'll sort it out." Calm, not anxious, nothing. Not excited, nothing. Simple. "Yeah, I see a problem there, but we'll sort it out." Okay. So he completed his consultation, gave me a bag full of pills, and this is roughly, and if you look at this image, this is what I walked away from his place with that. On a Saturday morning, I started with this. At that stage, I've made my mind up. I'm not going to do the chemo. Now, I informed my wife to phone the oncologist and cancel the appointment. And she was extremely upset because she's in the medical thing and she couldn't understand why I refused to take the traditional route. But let that be. Now, what I want to share with you now is I'm going to show you a collection of images. And you must understand, this is images. I take an image of every peace session. This is just an extract from a huge collection to give you an idea of the variations that can happen. In this slide you can see there's a lot of blood and it is dark black, and in one of the image in the second row, second from the right, you can see there's pieces there. And then there's calmer days, and here you can see. Now the green, that is from the methylene blue that does that. And then things change and you get this, and it's dark. But all the time, the thing that I was told by my supporters to watch out for was for bright red urine. And on what stages of the stream. If it's at the end of the stream, it is critical. You must be careful because it means that there is free bleeding happening. If it's in the midstream and so, then it's not too serious. And when it's black, it's old dead blood. Don't worry about that. And they say to me, don't worry about the pieces, the crumbs and things. Don't worry about that. Because that medication is killing that growth, and the parts and pieces of dead growth, I don't even want to give the fucking thing the acknowledgement of naming it cancer, because it was a dying heap of cells, that's what it is, have to come out. You are fortunate. You can see the things come out. If it was a breast cancer or a cancer in your liver or in your anywhere else, you had no indication of what the hell was going on. So you're actually fortunate to have it in your bladder and you can see how the thing is dying. I said, all right. So I carried on with the medication. The first month, the urine was not the green tints in it because I didn't use the methylene blue. I only started with the methylene blue in month 2, and it was also a low dose. Now, you must understand, I am reluctant to give you indications of what the dosage is of what the medication I'm using, for the simple reason that people hear things like this and then they start self-medicating and do it as a DIY job, which is dangerous. I don't promote the DIY way at all because there is dangers involved there. Stick to a professional guy that knows what he's doing. Most of my supporters told me that the dose of ivermectin and fenbendazole that I'm using is too low. I should use higher doses. But my wellness consultant said to me, please understand, you see all the tablets that you're using, all the capsules I've given you, all of those things are working in synergy, and I'm happy with the dosage. I also have to look out, you're an old guy, 73, we must be careful not to hurt your liver and your kidneys. Damage the liver and damage the kidneys, and we've got another problem. In any case, and I trusted him with that. So in month 2, he added the methylene blue, 10 milligram. Then in month 3, he upped the methylene blue to 25 milligrams, because he said to me that the danger level for methylene blue is 30 milligrams. Now there are people that go to 50. Well, my guy's not happy with that, and I have to trust my guy. And then at the end of month 3, as I promised my wife, I went again for a full blood work, urine test, and an MRI. That was done. The blood test came back, everything positive. Nothing to worry about. Not a sign of infection. Nothing. Urine test, no infection, nothing. And now I want to explain something to you. I've been using the LifeWave X39 stickers for almost 3 years now. And when I started peeing blood, I added Aeon and glutathione. And that is the main reason why I believe that we're at that initial blood test with my GP, there was no sign of urine infection. And I asked him specifically, with this bloodbath in my bladder, why the hell is there no infection? This is the ideal environment for a mood of a roaring infection. And he said to me, I can't tell you. I can't understand it. I need to see that, and I'm also puzzled. There's no signs of infection. I can only conclude that it was the Aeon and the glutathione LifeWave patches that prevented me getting infection. At the end of month 2, let me just try, I think, get my bearings right. Now, the end of month 3, that week of the last week of month 3, on the Monday, I stopped using the glutathione and Aeon. And by the Wednesday, I had a roaring bladder infection. An infection of note. I saw my wellness guy on the Thursday, and I explained to him, and he said, yeah, I can see there's things is not lekker. So, I phoned my wife and I said to her, okay, I've done the consultation now, see if you can get antibiotics. And she called me back and said, yes, she has, the clinic doctor gave her a prescription for antibiotics. That's fine. So that night, and at that stage you must now understand, I'm pissing blood in pieces like you can't believe. And I said, okay. When I came back from Victoria, I was back here in Nelspruit that evening, I started using the antibiotic. And that Friday morning I started using the Aeon and glutathione again. By Saturday the infection was cleared up, totally cleared up. I completed the antibiotic course, was up to the Monday, and so okay. But that was it, the infection was cleared up. And then in that week, that was when I had to go for my blood tests and all of those things, and for the MRI. Now the blood tests came back, and everything was fine. The blood counts, all those things are fine. Liver function fine, kidney function fine, nothing to worry about. But the blood tests clearly indicated that I was way, and not a little bit, off the scale, over, on vitamin D3, all the vitamin Bs, all of those things, off the scales. And my GP asked me, how much vitamin D3 do you use? And I said to him, 30,000 units. And he said, what? Because, I think they prescribe 600 units. And he said, okay. I said, well, that's what I'm using, and that's what it is. I then went to the urologist, did the consultation, and when he did the sonar, I could see on the sonar that growth in my bladder is a hell of a lot smaller than what I saw in Pretoria. But I didn't say much about that, and I went for the MRI. And I walked out of the MRI office, and I thought to myself, I don't even want to see the results. I know this is fine. But this was the MRI image. Now, before I show you the MRI, I'm going to show you the CT again. Look at that. And you can see the bladder wall has been dented in by the growth into the fat. And there's a little faint grey line there. That was the CT on which the diagnoses were made. This is the MRI result. Here you can see the bladder wall, nice shape, and absolutely nothing outside the bladder. Clean, there's nothing. The growth is in the bladder contained. And the urologist took one look at that and he said to me, that's fine, we can scrape that out. Okay, so that's where I am. That is where I was 3 months ago. And my question is just, why does the medical guys not want to accept that the natural way works? Why don't they want to accept it? Because the urologists are very skeptical. The guy that did the MRI, that ordered the MRI. And I said to him, well, I'm going to carry on with the regime. I'll come back to you in 6 weeks' time. And he said, yes, and I'll check it I'll see on the sonar if I need to scrape it. And then he said, if that medication of yours takes that, I'll eat that pot plant. And I thought, okay, you better get some good medication for your gums. You're going to need it. So, this is where it is. And I have absolutely no intention of allowing any surgery. I feel healthy, I feel good, and I feel comfortable. I have made peace with the fact that I will be pissing parts at stages. That's how that thing is being broken down. Now, once the MRI result came back, my wellness consultant said to me, right, triple up on the ivermectin and fenbendazole. Let's give it now a hell. We now know the thing is contained in the bladder. Let's punish him. And I'm now in the 3rd week of that high dose. And it's not an extremely high dose, but it's a high dose, ivermectin and fenbendazole. And I'm happy. So, all I want to say to you guys, the fact that the medical fraternity, the medical industry, does not support the natural way, the way they should, leads to a situation where a lot of desperate people, they find help on social media, and then they go and they buy the products and they doctor themselves. They medicate themselves, DIY. That's very dangerous. You must understand that just the fenbendazole and ivermectin, there is dangers for your kidneys and your liver. And you need to have a consultant that knows what he's doing, that will support those organs while fighting the cancer. I've got one guy that sent me this morning, his wife had also basically end time breast cancer, and it has spread. It's an ugly story. And they started on the natural path as well, but they're doing it combined with chemo. And it works. But his doctor is supportive of the natural way, so that they work together. So all I want to say to you is, be careful. Don't just somewhat DIY yourself. There are risks. But the reality is, the feedback that I see and that I get and that I read, there's no doubt in my mind the natural way is the way to go. And I hope that you find value out of this and you find some inspiration out of this. One of the guys that I'm in contact with is in a bad state today. His kidneys is now basically shutting down. But he refuses to drink water. And if you use ivermectin and fenbendazole, I'm telling you now, you better make sure you drink at least 3 liters of water a day, 2.5 to 3 liters every day. Force feed yourself if you can't take it. If you don't do that, if you don't drink enough water, you're putting your kidneys at risk. And look, when I was younger, I had a lot of issues with kidney stones, and I spent many days in the urology department and so. And it always fascinated me to see how the nursing staff was struggling to get the guys to drink water. For me, the moment I'm out of that theater after they've taken care of the stones and I'm back in the ward, I immediately jump onto the water and I just pour that water down my throat by the buckets basically, because the more water you put through, the quicker you flush your kidneys. And with this ivermectin and fenbendazole that is known to stress your kidneys, you need to have enough water there. You must do that. There's no shortcut. There's no way that you can dodge that. And it's just for your own benefit. And I mean, once you've damaged your kidneys, then you've got a big problem, a serious big problem. Now, if you look at these images, I'm going to show you a few. I call it my piss prentjies, piss pictures. I'm going to show you some, to give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. And it is sporadic. Look at this one. You can clearly see. Look at the piece lying in the bottom of the bowl there. And then you look at something like this, and there's nothing to worry about. Now the green is from the methylene blue, but you can see, it's translucent. And then you get days, then I get days like this. I mean, that is a bloodbath. And then these days, it looks basically like Marmite. It's black. It's dead black. You must be alert if you see clear red blood, because that is acute bleeding. So, this is what I deal with, and I'm a fanatical analyst. So, I do keep record and track of everything. But I do it for myself, and I'm doing it so that when I reach the end of this road, I can sit down and I can face medical people and say, look at this, look at that, look at that. Facts. Now, a lot of them will say, looking at a piss prentjie or a piss picture doesn't say much. I just have to tell you that I use that urine test sticks every day. And as long as that stick only indicates blood, I have no problem. It's when there's other things that comes in there then, and that you must understand. For me, the thing that I am extremely alert for is bladder infection. I'm very, very alert and keep an eye on that, because you don't want to complicate things, right? Developing infection. Now, apart from the regime prescribed by my consultant, wellness consultant, I use the LifeWave stickers, as I've explained. I also use a product called OxyCare drops. That is to increase the oxygen saturation of my blood. When I started with the program, my oxygen percentage was between 82 and 86, and my wife freaked out and said it's way too low, and everybody said it's way too low. And a channel supporter then sponsored me with one of his products, and I use that OxyCare drops daily, and my oxygen saturation sits between 96 and 98%. I also use the Rife Medic 8 machine. And that instance, when I had that massive bladder infection and so. I was also, the week before that, I was using the machine 2 sessions a day at 80% power. And my wellness consultant told me that day when, I was there and I was in the middle of that blood storm. He said, you must be careful, the rife frequencies can be severely destructive as well. So I've tuned that down to 1 session every second day, and I don't exceed 60%. So those are the things that I'm using. I've got the capsules that I get from my wellness guy. It includes ivermectin, fenbendazole, black seed, a lot of vitamin D, B, antioxidants and things like that. I use the LifeWave, I use the Medic 8 Rife machine, and I use the OxyCare drops. And those are the things. There's a lot of people that tell me use this, use that, use that. I have refrained from doing it, because if I do that, in the end, I cannot tell you what worked and what didn't work. I reach the end of the road and I'm clear and free, and what did I use? And then you start this and that and that and that and that and that and that and that. And that is useless to everybody. So, this is what I'm trying to do. Not apart from the fact that I'm working on staying alive, I want to leave a record that is of use to other people. But let me stop blabbering. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.